Create, awakening the artist inside you. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 21 of Create with Franz Sydney. And you can find a lot of information about what I do if you go to franzsydney.com. So today we're going to talk about using art and hypnotherapy to lower health anxiety. Let's define first of all what health anxiety is. Are you experiencing a constant feeling of unease, or you're feeling maybe a little bit worried about being infected and you think about it all the time? Or maybe you are thinking about you might die. You might be suffering from GAD, which is Generalized Anxiety Disorder. Of course, we all know it's quite reasonable to go through a short period of anxiety when, for example, we have something like an exam or a challenging event, you have maybe a job interview or you are playing for a concert and you haven't practiced much or you practice too much and you get like butterflies in the stomach. That's fine. You can be worried about throwing up or maybe collapsing on the floor. I mean, that's fine. That happens to a lot of people. It can be tackled, but it's not exactly health anxiety. Anxiety is the way of our mind of keeping us alert and telling us, okay, I've got this, I'm going to protect you no matter what. So we remain in a state of high alert. However, this is okay for a short event, but if you realize you're constantly feeling dizzy, you're always restless, you're worried, to the point that you have even palpitations, and you have a fear of going out or doing something, and this is taking away the essence of your daily routine and your happiness, then it's a really good idea to seek for help, educate yourself. What's really going on? Can I do something about it? And of course you can. This is because anxiety can hinder our daily life and become really exhausting, especially now because the media are only talking about deaths and infection rates and R numbers and being safe and staying at home. And you know what? We're all not gonna die just like that. I don't see any piles of dead people on the floor, but still health anxiety has become the number one search word in Google. Anxiety of being sick, the worry of being sick. This is probably a product of our times and the things that are happening nowadays, plus other problems that might be in our family because maybe we have some genetic disease or a lot of stress in our family and in our environment or even at work, when we are super preoccupied about germs and safety, and then it becomes an OCD almost, it just taking over everything. Now, we know that a general anxiety can stem from many physical problems or genetic issues, sometimes from PTSD, from trauma, but it can also be generated by this constant stream of negative messages that we're hearing maybe in our family or at work, or maybe from the media or the kind of movies that you are watching, maybe some documentaries that are all about dying and death. So if we do not filter this huge amount of information, we'll feel like we're kind of squashed under a tsunami of negativity, and that things can be kind of going round and round in our mind every time when you go to bed and you're processing this information. It just becoming stronger and stronger, this sense of impending gloom and can I say doom and gloom? Yeah, that's a word. So whether it's the media or maybe a toxic person nearby that is always worried about dying of cancer, the effect is the same. If we have real health anxiety, we feel that we can't cope. We have something on our chest, it's a weight. We can't really relax. We tend to be kind of jittery a little bit and just worried. Now, the good news is that there is so much we can do to lower this sensation of perceived threat that comes with of course, related anxiety, and we can lower it to a decent level, to a realistic level, so we can enjoy life more, so we can do the things that we love doing. So you might already know that a very simple way of tackling anxiety is to start some very, very gentle form of exercise, or maybe yoga or dance, whatever you prefer to do. For example, 10 to 15 minutes a day are shown to improve our breathing and our oxygenation, and also increase our levels of dopamine. So what happens when we do this? We can improve our mood and we feel a little bit more capable of dealing with life and of doing something else. We can clear up space in our mind, because when you exercise, when you do yoga, when you dance, you are more worried about where you're going to put your feet so you don't fall on the floor, and then you have all these good things, more oxygen in your brain and all sorts of stuff happening in your body that makes you feel more positive. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do anything very, very technical, even a walk in the countryside, a little bit of gardening, which of course in this weather isn't the most exciting thing to do, but sometimes in a sunny day, if you wrap up, you can actually do a little bit of a walk outside, or even maybe playing with your children if you have children at home. This counts as exercise. It brings you a smile and it just switches off the constant focus. It's all about what you are focusing on, because you always get what you focus on. So if you think for a little while, just relaxing, just letting go and do something physical, that is so helpful and so underrated. There is something else that really helps with anxiety, and that is to consider maybe cutting down on things like alcohol, smoke and caffeine. Not only you will be able to save money, but you will have a more stable mood, and once you find these new mindful habits, whether it's sport or maybe art, of course I have to say that art is good because it is, you will be able to replace these gap-filling substances that are going to charge you and make you feel good, but you don't need alcohol to relax. You do not need smoke or caffeine to elate you. You can do something a lot deeper, which is looking at something you enjoy doing that is good for you, and that helps you also to be more satisfied about yourself. Did you know, for example, I watched about a couple of months ago a very interesting small TED Talk type presentation. And it was saying that people who have caffeine, even if I have it in the early morning, they're not having such a good sleep. Why? Not because it keeps them awake, it's because the REM sleep is not there. So the part that has to do with reprocessing and clearing up all the clutter from our brain, it cannot happen properly if we're having caffeine. So think again if you're having that just to let you get out of bed every day. Sometimes anxiety is completely out of our control. And so we want to work with a therapist who can help us to find out why do we have it? What is the origin of this issue? Where did it start? You might have a session, 2, 3 to support you, depends on where you're going. And there are lots of different types of support you can have. And one is CBT, which is known as cognitive behavioral therapy. This is a very well-known talk therapy that can help you to change the way you think and the way you behave by analyzing the thoughts that are unrealistic or not helpful. Now, CBT is focusing on the present, so it's very, very good if your focus is on that and if your issue is stemming from a present problem. However, sometimes our anxiety is very, very deeply seated. It's actually stemming from something that must have happened many years ago, maybe when you were going to school, even when you were a little child. So really, there is no amount of self-affirmations or exercise or just talking about it that can completely reprocess these issues. Why? Because the emotions that are connected to the issue that you have today have been stored in the subconscious mind without being processed properly, especially trauma. Remember, when you have trauma, the emotions are stored straight in subconscious mind, and then they come back in the form of nightmares, bad thoughts, maybe palpitations, and being triggered by everything. So you have to know which therapist you want to work with instead of just talking for 20 years. If you keep going to your therapist and you talk and talk, but you're always the same, you're not going to the correct therapist for your problem. Now, enough of bad news, right? But this is, of course, when hypnotherapy comes to the rescue. Why? Because when you are in hypnosis, you're in a deeply relaxed state, and the therapist can access your subconscious mind in a gentle way. While you relax with the therapist, you allow those past events to emerge gently, calmly. You look at them as if it was just watching a movie on a DVD. So what happens during a session? During a session, for example, with rapid transformational therapy, which is what I do, you can gradually discover the connection between what you are feeling right now and what you have felt during a past event, and how you can make sense of it, how you can make peace, so to speak, and then you can move on and leave this aside. For example, our fear of becoming ill could come from seeing our frail and very, very ill grandmother at the hospital when we were very young, and assume that when we reach the same age, we're going to be just as ill as her. And that's what I thought when I was young. My grandmother was about 50, 52, and she was very ill. She had several surgeries, had a kidney taken away, she had maybe 2 heart attacks, she was in and out of hospitals. And I always thought, wow, when you're 52, 53, that's it, you're done. She always said, I'm very old. And here I am, I'm well past 52, and I'm feeling great. But for many years, I thought that was it. At 50, you're pretty much done. I'm so thankful I didn't become anxious. But some of us live in constant fear of getting cancer or other diseases because some family members have died from it. For example, my mother died at 53. She had breast cancer and she just died. My dad died of cancer. And maybe my mind could have built a belief that is based on an incorrect conclusion and could have used that to create a very state of fearful wait for this painful event to inflict suffering on me in the future. And this happened to me for a couple of years. Then I realized what was going on and I took action to stop thinking about that, and I'm glad I did, because now I feel amazing. So during a hypnotherapy session, what we do, we are safely observing all those events, like what happened in my life in the past when I was younger, and we see all these events as if it was this movie. So we are not triggering anything, and we just watch them and think, wow, this is how I got this idea in my mind. Then we get to remove these emotional connections that we have, those reactions that we are automatically repeating over and over, and which are bringing the anxiety, the palpitations, and even, for some people, some nightmares. We want to restore a balanced and realistic view of what the real situation is regarding our health, so we don't feel so anxious about it. Anxiety is just the reaction of this feeling that we are going to be in trouble very soon. Now, after a hypnotherapy session, it is very normal to feel very relaxed, even deeply relaxed, and much lighter. To make sure that this state of relaxation and wellness can come back, return to you, and be consolidated to reinforce this new belief in your mind, I'll give you a recording, a hypnotic recording that you can listen to. And this helps you to really go back to this amazing, relaxing time you had during your session. As you know, our mind learns by repetition. That's how we learn poetry at school. That's how we learn how to count the steps. 1, 2, 3. Every time we go up and down, we learn. By the age of 3, everyone knows how to count the steps, don't we? So when we learn by repetition, we are gradually accepting this new way of being our life, of seeing our past and making sense of it. So this process that we do of listening to the recording is literally regenerating a part of our brain, because we are forming a new connection, a new synaptic connection. So the synapses are new and they become stronger and stronger because we repeat the concept. And so we have a reaction that is better, it's improved, and it's faster and faster, and it is positive, which is what we want to have. So we're really literally setting aside the anxiety and bringing in a situation that we have control with. So we're feeling better. It is reassuring to know that with expert help, even our wildest fears can be really reduced to a minimum, to a normal, realistic, healthy way of looking at the problem. And we can often completely eliminate the fear. And this allows us to enjoy life to a much higher degree. It takes time, maybe one session, sometimes more than a session, but it's an amazing way of dealing with a problem that past therapists have not been able to solve. And of course, as our mind learns by repetition, what is very useful is to look back and to observe what is that we're listening to. Who are we listening to all the time? What are we reading every day? Because our mind is always learning from those words too. And so maybe a fun exercise we can do, and maybe an eye-opening one, is to make a list of those radio and TV shows that we watch, the programs that we listen to, the books we read, the magazines we read, the type of news that we listen to, the people that we surround ourselves with. And then when we have a list, we can look and say, okay, how does this program make me feel? How does this person make me feel? And really ask yourself, when I think about watching the news, how do I feel? And if it's making you feel horrible, ask yourself, why do you keep listening to that, right? You might even be surprised at the very way you're answering these questions when you look at the list and you start to focus on these feelings that you're getting from a very specific source. It is a very good idea to identify how useful that feeling is in your daily life, that negative, overbearing feeling of something bad is going to happen to me. Do you want to keep it? Do you want to enhance it? Or do you want to substitute this feeling and put instead a very pleasant, calm and in control feeling that although things might not be looking very good, they are going to get better. You are in control of how you want to feel. Because remember, what is important is not really what is happening around us, but the way we are reacting to it. And even better, the way we are anticipating the future tells a lot about our state of mind. In the past, I had some clients who had quite a little negative chatter in their mind that was telling them, oh, you are going to be sick, you're going to die, that's how it's going to happen, because everyone in your family or all your friends are dying of whatever it was, I can't remember, the disease. And so during the session, it turned out that sometimes there was something very, very small that happened and that made a difference. For example, once there was a well-meaning relative, and this guy had expressed some concern regarding an extreme sport that the client was involved with when he was maybe a young boy, or maybe this relative was very worried about the driving style of a person and was saying, well, you're very dangerous, the way you drive, you're going to have a car crash. And maybe this person shared a horrific experience to the driver. And this, sharing these experiences has left the mind of a person listening to this advice profoundly disturbed by all the description and all the details. And this happens a lot of time, even when we pick up maybe a newspaper and show it to our friend or children and say, yeah, this is what happened, then we think, oh my gosh, I drive just like that, I'm just going to have an accident. And it's not really a good idea to think in those terms. There are other clients that I had, they believed they were completely hopeless and they would be very soon sick because all their siblings were sick. It's in our genes. For example, a lot of people say, well, we're all quite large in our family, so I'm going to become large. Or all my family has diabetes, I'm going to develop diabetes because it's in my genes. Is it? So the genes are only an instruction. That can happen if the environment is correct. And if that instruction cannot find the correct environment, then we cannot have any problem. Usually during the session, people have a aha moment when you realize that there is a connection between how you have felt in the past and how you're feeling today, how your heart is beating fast, and how you can stop this. And this is so liberating, just to defeat those negative, self-chattering negative thoughts. And it's really just like dropping a heavy bag that we have been carrying for too long. And a lot of people are carrying a lot of luggage. Now, you won't be surprised if I say that I often suggest to complement the therapy that we are doing with some form of art. For example, it could be drama or singing, it could be dancing, depending on what you like. It could be visual arts, textile arts, writing, or even poetry. It's just anything under the creativity or artsy thing goes under this umbrella, because it is very, very effective in lowering anxiety. What my view is that all the arts allow the human expression, the focus, and the relaxation that you're looking for in a very gentle, very effective manner. So it's not like a pill that you take the pill and then your pressure goes down and you calm down. No, it's just something more simple. When you do something, you do an art of whatever type, even if it's the first time and you're just experimenting. And the good thing is that excellence is not a requirement when you're trying out an art or when you're going back to it. What is sufficient is just the desire just to be and a very playful attitude. And of course, if you're super anxious, maybe you won't have a playful attitude in the beginning, but within a few minutes of throwing yourself in, it will start to emerge again. Because, everyone has been a child once. Of course, I'm not saying that you need to be a perfectly pitched singer with a very wonderful and rich voice to do singing. You don't need that, because singing in itself brings relaxation, brings improved breathing, and brings focus within a few minutes. Have you ever tried to be angry or anxious about your health when you're singing from your heart? It's just impossible. So think about it. These are activities that are very simple to do. They don't have to be perfectly done, but they still bring a good result. And the same goes for dancing. Just because you cannot remember which step goes first in a ballroom dance, or maybe you're a little bit stiff if you're trying a Zumba session, that's fine, but this does not take away the wonderful effect of movement on our entire body, on the whole system. We have more oxygen that goes to every cell, that goes to the brain, the dopamine goes up, we're just happier. It improves our breathing, improves our stamina, and as the level of dopamine goes up, we just have a better outlook of life. Have you ever tried to feel very anxious when you are dancing? It just cannot happen. So these are very simple things we can do. And I was just thinking, they can be coupled with a good laugh, all right? So maybe you can have a chat with a friend on Zoom or in person when possible, and then do this together. You could do singing together, you could do dancing together, join a class together. In this moment, it could be probably a Zoom class if you're not about to go out because you don't have a class nearby or because your area is in a lockdown. So I want you today to think of 4 or 5 things you can do, and you can try today if you are feeling this anxiety creeping onto you, making you wonder, oh my gosh, I'm gonna get COVID-19, I'm gonna get cold, I'm gonna die. If you're getting these things, oh my gosh, I'm gonna die, I got cancer, maybe I have a little lump there, it could be a dreadful disease. If it keeps coming back, try for a minute to consider, okay, is this true? Actually, maybe not, it's not actually true, And just take your minds off for a minute and think about something else. Maybe you can make a list of 4 or 5 things that you would like to do. Have you ever tried, for example, textile arts? Or have you tried embroidery? Or if you tried drawing, you can use cake decoration, or you can use a pencil on paper, you can do digital drawing, you can draw on a sun with your finger, which is very relaxing. That's why children do it. You can do sculpting, and you do not need clay. You can do your own dough. You can make the dough using flour and water. You can use Fimo, or you can just do something with your cookery skills and then do sculpture in there. I mean, the possibilities of just losing your mind a little bit, just relax for a little while. It's just amazing. Cake decorating and eating as well is really special, isn't it? And then you can donate the cake to somebody if you don't want to eat too much cake just to be happy. But there is something special that happens in our mind when we are completely involved and deeply focused on doing these creative activities, such as dancing, singing, or making something that looks good and even tastes good. So what happens is we are focused. We are focused on one thing. And the brain cannot be completely, absolutely focused on a lot of things together. It can be focused on one and then on another. But if you choose one and you focus on that, that's it. The anxiety has no choice. It has to go backwards into the background. A little chatter that you're just ignoring because you're being playful. You are in the flow and you can forget about everything else, including your fears. And this becomes a habit, a very good habit of switching off the little button that keeps going up with all your fears. As we learn to connect to those feelings of happiness, of being playful, of being like a child, a little bit more often, then we will notice with pleasure that our anxiety levels are dropping. Our stability is improving. And as we are learning to connect to the feelings of happiness and being relaxed more and more often, then we will notice that our anxiety levels are dropping. Our stability improves. And one way that you can see, for example, to calm down and to start just a very simple coloring book hobby. It doesn't have to be a really complicated book. It could be a train picture, a robot picture from your grandchildren. Maybe it could be cute animals, or maybe inspirational images and text, or detailed images. Whatever there is, coloring has the capacity to soothe, to calm, to refresh your mind. I think it's amazing. So what I want you to do for a few minutes every day, I want you to give yourself a gift of self-nourishment. Enjoying your hobby, detaching your mind from a constant chattering and from a scaremongering that is around in the media. Remember, you're still alive. Life is precious. Be grateful. Spend a few minutes every day thinking of what you're grateful for. That really changes the frame of your mind. When we do that, when we spend time to just talk to ourselves, when we're doing something that we actually enjoy, we can then enjoy a really deeper connection to ourselves, a deeper sense of gratitude for all the small, little, cute things that we notice in our life, the love other people might have shown to somebody or even to us. A nice sunset, a deeper appreciation just for the gift of life, of being alive in this wonderful time on earth where we can do so much service, do so much to help other people, to lift somebody else who is not doing well. Remember, we always get what we focus on, and all the energy goes there. So, to finish this episode, I just want to tell you one thing. What will you do today to gently return to a calm state of mind? This was episode 21, and we talked about how to lower our health anxiety using art. If you have any suggestions for future episodes, please contact me. You know where my email is. My website is on fransydney.org. So feel free at any point to just tell me what you think about the show, how it can be improved, and if you want any new topics that are within the range of mental wellness and art and performance and anxiety and whatever else a hypnotherapist will do, because That's the whole point with me, just to help you a little bit so every day you have a little bit of inspiration to feel better. Thank you for being with me, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye. You have listened to Create. It's all about art and awakening the artist within you with Fran Sidney.